Okay, Jesus wants all his believers to be fully assured of certain knowledge of certain facts that are going to happen to planet Earth between now and the time we see him coming down in the sky on a white horse. So we've got 4 ways to prepare for the days ahead. We've already got people who are kind of nervous. They're kind of, the North Korea has got a bunch of people spooked. It's like every week, every month, he's getting better and better missiles. He's got nuclear weapons. They say, well, maybe in a year or two, and then, well, maybe in a year, or well, maybe in 6 months, or maybe, people starting to get nervous, right? So Jesus wants us to prepare mentally to be, calm, to be fully assured, and we've got 4 ways. We can look at those. Colossians 2:2 says that their hearts may be encouraged. God wants us to have our hearts encouraged, being knit together in love. We've got a room full of love here. Attaining to, now this is a mouthful. You almost can't read this and drink it all in. You've got to break it up into little pieces. Attaining to all riches, oh, that's great, of the full assurance, full assurance, of understanding, which sadly most people don't have understanding what Jesus is teaching. It's in the book, they could read it, they could believe what the book says, but they don't understand what Jesus is teaching. To the knowledge of the mystery of God. Now, here's the book. The mystery is written in plain English in most cases, and most people go, well, that ain't right. Jesus said, no man has ascended to heaven. 2 billion people say, well, that ain't right. Those who are in the graves are going to come up out of the graves. That ain't right. You don't have an immortal soul. That ain't right. Everybody has an immortal. So it's like they've been taught wrong information, and now their brains are locked into it. They have full assurance of the wrong information. He's saying here, we need to have full assurance of the right information, the knowledge of the mystery of God, both of the Father and of Christ. Oops, Trinity didn't get a mention, right? No Trinity, right? Paul knew. Okay, number 2, Hebrews 6:11. We desire each one of you to show the same diligence, this is number 2, to the full assurance of hope. You got to it's not just a matter of, okay, when we put hands over candles, it's like, it hurt so bad, whatever our experience was, that has been burned into our memory. We don't have to say, oh yeah, what does the Bible say about that? When it comes to burning your hand, we remember. I got bitten by a scorpion once, and when I'm in that part of the house where the scorpion got me, I look down 2 or 3 times, make sure he didn't come back, right? Or his buddy or his friends came back. It is memorable. Okay, so show the same diligence. It's an effort we make to the full assurance of hope until the end. So learning knowledge makes us more assured. And believing the knowledge, right? Because people are reading past these scriptures, and reading past John 3:13 and other scriptures, but they're not stopping and saying, oh wait, that says the opposite of what I've been believing all my life. What am I to do? Do I believe what I actually see, or do I just believe what everybody's been telling me? So years ago, Sabbath-keeping believers, lots of them, turned away from the truth because they did not have full assurance of faith. They had not been strengthening their resolve that God has given us solid words for assurance of hope, right? And they must have stopped reading their Bibles. I'm not sure. They just got less and less interested in pleasing Jesus by keeping his commandments and obeying his teachings. And when somebody, the leader of the church, stood up and said, you don't have to keep Sabbath anymore, you don't have to keep holy days anymore, go eat shrimp, whatever, right? They all ran out the door. Say, well, we're free, It's like, did you not learn anything in those years? Apparently they fell asleep, whatever it was. So hands up if some of you saw this. right? There's some of us still alive today. Gary's asleep, but he saw it too, right? We saw people leave the Worldwide Church of God's doctrines. It was the Worldwide Church of God that left the doctrines, and so they went with the Worldwide Church of God, but they left the teachings of Jesus Christ. Okay, number 3, Hebrews 10:22. Let us draw near. You have to be making an effort to get closer to the knowledge bank, the data you have that you're gleaning from the Bible, and that's the mind of Christ. You might think it's just reading information off the page, but that's the information of the mind of Christ that he put on the page thousands of years ago, so we can understand his thinking and his mind and how things work. So let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith. Right? Daily moving a little closer to the mind of God, a little closer to the mind of God. And with the events we now have, I was telling somebody, in 1975, I asked my wife to marry me, and I said we might only be married for 2 years, because 1975 was going to be the end of everything, right? And it wasn't, it was the beginning, because I got married in 1975. Right? But it's been a long time since 1975, and here we are. We're still here. Right? But do we have a lot more nuclear weapons now than we had before? Do we have more nations with nuclear weapons now than we had before? Do we have crazy people with nuclear weapons? Back in the day when you could hide under your desk in the school to protect you from the atomic blasts.
Right.
Teach the kids to be safe. Get down under your tables. What were they thinking? But anyhow, it was mutually assured destruction. If the Russians shoot at us, we'll shoot at them, and everybody will be dead. Right? So then don't shoot at each other. But now we've got rogue nations with nuclear weapons. We are very, very close. We've got ISIS running amok, right? And the news says, well, that's pretty much the end of ISIS. The thinking is still there. Just because you kill off a bunch of soldiers doesn't mean the thinking went away. The thinking is still there. Iran wants to rule the Middle East. They want to have nuclear weapons. They spend their money, the money we gave them, on terrorism. So it's like there's so much stuff going on, you can't keep track of it, especially with the Russia conclusion thing. You've got to watch that. Right? So, full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled or purified from an evil conscience. And then number 4, in Hebrews 10:23, let us hold fast. Now, I lit the candle and talked about burning your hand because all of us, from, whenever you burned your finger, whenever you had your hand scorched over a stove, whatever that was, and you probably had you did it and you learned the lesson, and you said, I never want to repeat that lesson again. And then later on, a friend of mine lifted up a mower the other day and he cut his finger. While the mower was running, he wanted to adjust the mower or something. It was like, what were you thinking? And it was like, he thought it'd be safe. But we've learned when it comes to burning our skin, we take extra precaution. And we don't go, oh, I forgot that a candle might burn you. We don't forget stuff like that. And Jesus is saying we need never to forget the basics that we learn from the Bible. So let us hold fast the confession of our faith without wavering, because he who promised is faithful. So those that went with the Worldwide Church of God and left the true doctrines, they wavered. They got tricked into doing stuff that they no longer thought was important. And the candle's a good example, because you don't have to go teach people in school. You don't have a class in kindergarten. All right, children, we're going to teach you how to not burn your hand over a candle. You don't have to teach people. Pretty soon life will teach you, and then you hang on to that truth. So we want to be well prepared for the days ahead, and these 4 points we got were encourage our hearts. We have to make the effort to be encouraged as we approach the tribulation, which is a horrible, ugly thing. It's worse than World War II. But we can't get to the kingdom, we can't get to Jesus ruling the planet until we go through the tribulation, because that's how he set it up. And number 2, we have to show diligence to be in a proper mindset, to remember what Jesus has been teaching us. Wish that it was automatic. Wish that once we had got the lesson of the candle, and then we got lessons from the Bible, those lessons from the Bible would never leave us. Nothing you could do or say could dissuade us from the lessons we learned in the Bible. Then it says, draw near. So again, you make an effort. And if there's ever a time to draw nearer and nearer to God, it's when you see your world falling apart, right? And then to hold fast what you have learned. And like I say, it's automatic when it comes to burning your skin, because you've got a lot of stake and there's a lot of pain involved. And it's so important to Jesus and to our lives that we got to lock this knowledge down into our brains and never let it go. Luke 21:28 says, now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws nigh. Jesus is saying, when all things are breaking loose and prophecy is beginning to be fulfilled, and he says, when it begins to happen, he doesn't say, wait until the abomination of desolation and then get excited. He says, when you see it in its early stages, start getting excited, because once the early stages occur, then the middle stages occur, the abomination, and then the tribulation, 3.5, that occurs, and then the 2 witnesses are dead in the street for 3.5 days. Now your redemption is very close. If you happen to be able to see a TV screen and see the 2 witnesses' bodies lying in the streets, you know, it's like, any day now, any day now, any day now, it's coming, you know. So, Luke 21:31. So, when you see these things happening, know that the kingdom of God is near. Now, how would you feel? You know, you might want to close your mind here, your eyes for a second. How would you feel if you were fully assured, 100% assured, that if you stepped through that door in the next 10 minutes, that you would be given an immortal body? How would you feel? It's like, no. You know, now we know from Bible that if you step through the door, the only way you're going to get an immortal body is die of heat stroke, right? Crash onto the ground, dead, we bury you, and then in the first resurrection, there's your immortal body. See, it happened, right? But we have to wait for the fulfillment of prophecy. So when Jesus starts the kingdom of God on earth, he will start fixing every problem that we have on earth. And we got so many problems, we couldn't discuss them all here today. We couldn't discuss them if we stayed here 7 days straight. There are so many problems infecting our lives and the world we live in. Jesus is going to fix every single one of them. The president today was commissioning the greatest warship ever built, 100,000 tons of the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, right? And he was in one of the speeches, they said, we can be assured of having a strong military. It's like the true assurance is in the Creator God Jesus Christ, who is going to make things turn out as he had written in the Bible. You know, we like to think there'll never be another war because we have the 100,000-ton aircraft carrier. But there's going to be another war. The book says that it's coming. We'll just have to be prepared for it mentally. And as it gets worse, what is that telling us? It's telling us Jesus said it would get worse. It's getting worse. That's the hand of God. It's turning out exactly as he said. And when he said, after this happens exactly as I said, then comes the kingdom, it's like, get excited. The kingdom is coming. Hebrews 10:24, let us consider one another to stir up love and good works. When we come together, we're supposed to stir each other up, right? And Gary does that. You've seen Gary do a lot of stirring up, right? So, and he is to love and good works that we're supposed to be stirred up to, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together on the Sabbath day, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. So the more we see the news falling into place according to the scriptures and the prophecies, we should be exhorting each other more and more as we get closer and closer. You know, nobody says, oh, let's have a tribulation. Yeah, let's get started. You know, it's like it's horrible, it's ugly, it's terrifying, right? But it's going to happen, so at least we need to prepare our attitudes and our minds to be ready for it when it comes. So let us get busy and stir each other up towards full assurance